Hello and welcome everyone. We have Zhaohui coming soon with her banner to be released in a few hours, or she is already out by the time you are watching this video. They really did her dirty with a Klukai banner rerunning alongside. We know who we will pull for. If you are interested to know more about Klukai, you can check out my previous Klukai review and guide from here or from the link in description. But regardless, I'm gonna try to review and take a look at Zhaohui's kit to share with you her value in the current meta. Keep in mind by meta I mostly refer to Gunsmoke boss fight team comps, and we will also consider her position in the CN meta since she's been released there for a long time. Meta or not, I always recommend going for dolls you like, the designs or playstyles of, since everyone's viable with a good build in the endgame. That being said, I'm not gonna bore you any longer and let's jump into discussing the TLDR of our value proposition and pull recommendation first. Zhaohui is a Hydro sub DPS with both single target and AoE damage capabilities. Being a sub DPS, she really lacks consistent and high damage output, even at V6. The thing that mostly makes her unique is her extremely high mobility mechanisms. She can teleport around the map, and on higher dupes she can even teleport her allies around with herself, which is why she is mostly a utility unit on the field. And unfortunately, we know that in GFL2 meta, mostly DPS and supports dominate. Zhaohui, while being a really fun unit to play, suffers from that exact reason and hasn't been meta in CN for the longest time. We already have a premium Hydro DPS, Tololo, and we are waiting for the premium Hydro support, Springfield. Looking at the CN meta teams for the past consecutive seasons, we can see that Hydro didn't really have a full team comp of their own until very recently. Hydro Corrosion has been the top meta comp, where it used to be the Corrosion trio of Klukai, Misty, Peritia, and two Hydro units, which would definitely be Tololo and Springfield. Zhaohui didn't really have a place in that comp. With Nikita's release in CN as the hyper DPS for Hydro, she found her place in that same hybrid comp, either replacing Tololo or adding alongside and replacing Misty, making it a 3 Hydro 2 Corrosion comp. Still, Zhaohui wasn't a go-to choice. With the most recent addition of Florence, we can see in the latest season that a full Hydro team comp is being considered a lot and is pretty viable now, making Zhaohui's usage rate better than before. Even then, it's still considerably below average compared to other options you have in CN. So with that in mind, in global, especially when we don't even have Springfield yet, I do not think Zhaohui is a high value unit to pull for. The recommended suggestion for F2Ps and low spenders is to skip. Or if you absolutely adore her, just get the V0. It's not very suggested to invest any more on her right now, and maybe in future when we have access to more Hydro units and better suitable team comps, you can think of pulling for her dupes. But if you really do want to pull for her dupes right now, her best breakpoints are at V1, V3 and then V6. Since we are emphasizing on not investing on her right now, I would also suggest to just use Zhaohui with her, the pre-SSR SMG, instead of pulling her signature. Or if you have access to the BP SMG, that's a really great choice as well. But if you are investing on V1 plus, you might want to pull for the signature weapon in that case to get the best out of it. Okay, let's now briefly go over her skills and see how her kit works. Her skill 1 is a 4-tile long AoE physical attack in a single direction, so basically in a line, and it damages all enemies hit in that range. If enemies have any Hydro debuffs, they are stunned for a turn. It also recovers 1 energy for her and gives plus 10% crit rate for her next active attack. There's some good and bad. We'll see that she has Hydro debuffs built into her kit, so that helps her with the skill 1 to stun enemies, and also you can use it to boost your crit rate before the ult. But on the flip side, the range is way too short. How many times are you gonna catch more than one enemy in a 4-tile long straight line, and it requires too much of a setup to get that stun. So yeah, I have mixed feelings about its value. Her skill 2 is where her core mechanisms start to come around. She can plant an arrow on an empty tile in a 6-tile range and deals AoE Hydro damage in a 2-tile radius around that. Also inflicts a Hydro debuff onto enemies that heals any attackers attacking the debuffed enemy. So she has some heals built in as well. You see, she can do a lot, but none of it very well, that's the problem. Anyway, her ultimate, it's the teleportation mechanism and her highest damage output. Basically, we saw she can plant arrows with her skill 2, right? With her ult, she can jump to an arrow in 9-tile range. She doesn't have to jump to the exact tile on the arrow, she can jump to any tile within a 2-tile area of that arrow. And then she attacks the nearest enemy within 6 tiles with Hydro damage and puts another Hydro debuff on them that disables healing on that enemy. And finally, her passive is basically just the passive version of her ultimate without the damage dealing part. At the end of her action, she can choose an arrow and jump to it within the 2-tile area, and it gives her +1 energy as well. Another passive effect is that it enables one support attack per turn for her when allies are attacking an enemy within range, where she deals hydro damage and puts another hydro debuff on the enemy that reduces their healing received. Now on to her Vertebrae levels. As mentioned before, duping Zhaohui isn't highly recommended, but V1 is a really nice and cost-effective stopping point if you really want to go for it. It puts an arrow beside her right at the battle start and says whenever there's an arrow on the field, her damage is +10%, which should be a free damage boost. She also now has 2 support attacks per turn, so overall a much needed damage boost for her and the first recommended stopping point if you are going for her dupes. Next up is V3, absolutely bonkers Vertebrae level. Upgrades her ult, and now when she jumps to an arrow, she can bring all allies in a 2-tile range along with her. So basically a team-wide teleportation. Nice. Not only that, before with her ult, when she attacked the nearest enemy, she only put one debuff that was the healing disabler for the enemy. And now she also puts the other hydro debuff that allows any attackers to heal themselves. And finally, if you are maxing her at V6, it basically juices up her ultimate with more crit damage, more attack multiplier and 3 times stackable attack boost. Moving on to her weapon choices, her signature Juggernaut is of course the best choice for her as it synergizes well with her kit, buffing crit damage towards enemies with hydro debuffs. But if you already have access to the BPSMG classified manuscript, that is an excellent choice for her as well, as with her high mobility she can take full advantage of its passive effects. And lastly, the final choice for F2Ps or anyone else would be Swarog. You have it free, you can max it, and Zhaohui can actually activate its passive by herself as well. Not the city warden one, but the support attacks buffing crit rate on the next active attack one. So yeah, actually good choice. Okay, on to her build. Phase Strike is the go-to set choice for farming as well as for essentially any elemental units, so prioritize that. The substats priority as always is attack percentage, then flat attack, then crit rate percent, followed by crit damage percentage. You wanna target about 2200 attack, 80% crit rate and around 165% crit damage for an endgame full build. Her best in slot fixed keys are Weakness Exposed, Light of Justice and Detestable for general stages and Try Humor instead on bossing stages. As for the common keys besides her own, essentially any attack percent and crit percent key works for her. Maybe you can use the Vepli, Diane or Sarkri ones. Her base skill rotation is as follows, where before you start her rotation, you want to use other allies to attack enemies and put hydro debuffs onto them, or use her support attack for that, and then start with her skill 1 to fully utilize its stun effect. There's another viable playstyle, especially at V2+, where you simply spam her skill 2 every turn and basically use her as an hydro AoE attacker only. You can add in her ultimate in any turn as required. As for her team synergy, unfortunately she really wants to be part of a hydro composition and we only have Tololo and Sabrina for her right now. Them 3 together does not make a good team. Things will look much better when we get Springfield and we can build some variations of hydro compositions then. I guess if you really want to, you can play her with Peritia? Her AoE will enable Peritia's support attack, so maybe there's something to look into there as well. So that brings us to the final recommendation. In my opinion, there's really no need to pull for Zhaohui right now if you are only considering endgame team building and meta. She isn't really a good fit on any of the top team metas and we already have some better options available to us. So it's recommended to skip for anyone F2P or low spenders. If you really want to feed your gacha addiction, just pull on the Klukai rerun and get a copy or a dupe. But if you really like Zhaohui and want to have her regardless of whatever the meta is, just get a copy at V0 and you are good. No need for high investments. You do not need to pull her signature weapon, you can use her with Swarog, the predecessor SMG just fine. That being said, the dupe breakpoints to follow for future references are as follows. You get her V1 and then it's recommended to pull her signature weapon. You go for her V3 next and finally max her out at V6. That's all. That concludes our review of Zhaohui. Let me know in the comments if you are skipping or pulling or saving for someone. I'm really waiting for the next special live stream and wish they announce Springfield. What about you? If you enjoyed the video and found it helpful, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. You can join the channel membership or send a super thanks to show more appreciation. And yeah, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more GFL2 content and maybe some other content, who knows. I'll catch you then. Goodbye.